and I want to talk about this Deshaun Watson situation. This is the prevailing story in the NFL right now. He's been accused by over 20 women, 16 of which have filed legitimate claims against him for sexual harassment. We haven't seen a story like this in the NFL, I think, maybe ever. A star quarterback, a player of Watson's notoriety and caliber, just sort of out of nowhere getting these types of allegations thrown at him and piled at him. And I don't want to say that Watson is a victim here, because the things he's been accused of are extremely serious. And if true, it would be hard pressed for Watson to remain in the NFL. However, it's hard not to look at the bigger picture and see, the Texans owner, Bob McNair, who's somebody who, donated multi-millions of dollars to the Trump campaign. He was quoted in 2018, referring to his players as inmates, saying we can't have the inmates running the prison. And the moment that Watson, stands up for himself and says he wants out of Houston, all of this suddenly comes to light. I don't know. This is a very ambiguous and serious story going on in the NFL.
Yeah, it's one of the crazier stories over the last couple of years in the NFL. My take on it is I really have no take, because obviously these are serious accusations, and I think in this country specifically, a lot of women or men are afraid to come out and say that they have been sexually assaulted due to whatever pressure or people not believing them, especially with athletes of Watson's caliber. He's a star quarterback in the NFL, the biggest sports league in America, right? So I don't want to sit here and, say all these women are lying or whatever, because I don't believe that. But like you mentioned, the Texans owner is a legitimate piece of shit, and I wouldn't put it past them to make it like his life mission to tear Watson down. And combine that with the fact that Watson is also a black man in America, and he works for I don't want to say it, but he's kind of racist, a racist owner.
He is racist, to say it.
Like, he's working for a racist owner. I just wouldn't put it past, a $1 billion owner of the NFL to try and tear this young black man down because he doesn't want to play for his football team. And obviously Watson is the face of the franchise at the moment, so losing him would be kind of catastrophic to the Texans' future, especially after they gave him, $100 million last year, and it would be catastrophic to the owner's revenue. So,
well, if that is the case, if this was something that is not true and was perpetrated by Texans ownership, that's a scorched earth approach, right? Like, there's no coming back from it. The Texans would be in massive trouble if that ever came to light, and McNair as well. It's tough because there's a lot of things going on here. There's the whole factor of sexism in America with the women. There's the race part of it, which you mentioned. And, we've seen this time and time again in this country where, young black men get thrown to the wolves by these companies. I think about Joe Budden getting his name dragged through the mud when he left Spotify in the podcasting industry. If anybody, followed that story, they tried to, it was basically like, if you're not going to podcast for us, you're not going to podcast for anyone. And they torched his name on the way out the door. And that's kind of feeling what it's like here. That being said, 20 plus accusers is a lot. And to your point, I am not the type of person who is going to think that women in general are making things up for money or for quote unquote attention or whatever other horrible shit people are saying. We have Roddy White on Twitter tweeting like, you can't force somebody to give you oral sex. It's like a lot of ignorant shit is being said. And I guess that's the crux of it. Like, I just wanted to talk about it on our podcast because I think the only opinion that should be stated right now fairly is the one that you open this segment with, and it's that our opinion is that we don't have an opinion. If you're coming out strong, calling Watson guilty, calling him a predator, calling him anything, it's terrible. It's corny, and you're speaking about something you don't know about. Now, if you're coming to Watson's defense saying he would never do that, well, you're in the same boat to me. Yeah. Like, having any strong stance on something that you don't have the full picture on or all the information about is not good. And I'm seeing a lot of it in sports media. I just wanted to make our position known that we're not like that. And we're also not afraid to, talk about a tough topic.
Yeah. Like I just said, I think the right take is to not have a take on this situation until all of the evidence is exposed and we see the full picture. 'Cause God, who knows? He could be just an absolute piece of shit human being, or he could just be getting blackballed by his owner because he doesn't want to play for his football team. And I wouldn't put it past people to accept payoffs in the demise of another human being.
Well said. Now, turning the conversation a little bit back into the wheelhouse we're comfortable in, fantasy. We did a draft on Monday. We live streamed it on the YouTube. It was a best ball draft, a tournament entry, and Watson went as the QB9. His ADP has been steadily falling as this story developed. He went in around pick 90th overall, 9th round, first pick of the 9th round. Like I said, QB9. If you're drafting in best ball tournaments, this is something you have to figure out now. How much risk are you willing to embrace with this situation? Are you willing to draft a player like Watson who has league winning upside, especially if he's going as a back end QB1 when his, floor ceiling combo is one of the highest in the NFL? By the time we're drafting redraft, I imagine we'll have a much clearer picture of this. But, people are drafting best ball every single day. So we need to be ready. If you're in Dynasty, are you holding? Are you selling? Like, how are you handling this Watson situation? How are you handling the risk equation?
I guess for me, and I have Watson in a Dynasty league, and I'm holding because as kind of messed up as it sounds, what are the odds that he doesn't play in the NFL ever again?
Not speaking to your perception of his guilt, but speaking
Yes.
to what the NFL allows.
Yes, exactly. My prediction is that he plays in the NFL again. And right now, if you sell him in Dynasty, you're probably selling him at a low. Therefore, I would not sell him at all. I would just hold on in Dynasty. But in Best Ball, I think he's worth the risk, especially in these large field Best Ball tournaments on Drafters and Underdog that are like $5, $10 entry fee. I mean, we talked about it on our live stream. Every single Monday we live stream. And, it's only $5. So I'm going to take the risk on Deshaun Watson in the 9th or 10th round if he keeps on falling. Like you said, his upside is quarterback one pretty much overall. And if you get him as a back-end quarterback one, I think that is great value on a player of Deshaun Watson's caliber. Overall, if I'm drafting 100 best ball drafts, let's keep it easy, I'm probably going to take him in about 15 or 20 of them if he falls to me. So I would have about 15%. I think that would be a good percentage to have of Watson in best ball if you're a high volume best ball player. I think that's where I would feel comfortable at. Anything more than that, I think you're taking on too much risk.
I would say I pretty much agree with you. I also think it comes down to the format. Like in a tournament, the risk reward proposition makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because you're playing for a top heavy outcome. You should be okay if your team flails out and burns because you should be embracing risk and embracing uncertainty in these best ball tournament entries, right? Like you're going for first or worst. If we're playing best ball cash, I'm doing one of these $5 leagues where only the top 3 or top half percentage get in, and it's like a cash game in DFS. Well, then maybe the risk isn't quite worth it. Maybe the difference between Watson and Herbert or Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, maybe it's not that close. And maybe the safety of some guys who are below that tier, like Stafford or Jalen Hurts, well, the fact that they have realistic 16 game projections for the season, I think is more impactful in a cash game format. So it's a format thing for me. I don't think that I'll be targeting Watson heavily in cash games for best ball, but in tournaments, I think that he's a complete buy as long as you're willing to, draft these things correctly.
Yeah.
Which means embracing risk in the first place.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. So